The other flowers that we see here are pink orchids. What am I saying? Hi everyone, I am Lena. We are finally back with the regular scheduled programming of the TU questioning films. Today we're going to take a look at Beomgyu's video. This is the second last questioning film. That's exciting. Ooh. By the way, this is a part of my Closer Look series where I examine the questioning videos and anything related to the TXT universe, so I'll be moving on after this to other pieces of information that have been shared. If you like these kinds of theory videos, consider subscribing and giving this video a thumbs up. Anyways, let's go! It starts with a slow zoom-in shot, which we actually see only part of Yeonjun's face before he peers around the flowers obstructing our view, and he's actually kind of smiling, which is nice for once. Featured on the screen, we see an array of pink and white flowers. A lot of these are campanula, more often called bellflowers. Campanula represents gratitude, humility, attractiveness, and everlasting love. This flower is found on a lot of graves as well, generally for the meanings that I just mentioned. Also, this seems to fit the idea of what Yeonjun would be going through in the Dream Chapter Star. I've mentioned before, but this is kind of like his album. Like, all these songs that are on the album are from his point of view. Everlasting love and gratitude are just especially like major themes, like when you look at the lyrics of the songs, especially songs like Cat and Dog, even Crown to an extent, Nap of a Star a little bit. It's just, it fits with the major themes. The bellflower has some interesting legends associated with them. The most famous is the story about the Venus goddess of love and beauty. She was also very vain. She had a magical mirror that when you looked into it, it only reflected beauty back. However, she actually lost this mirror and a poor shepherd boy picked it up. But when he looked into the mirror, he was very happy and he decided to keep it. However, the goddess was beside herself with worry because she lost her precious mirror. So she asked Cupid to go and search Earth so that she could find her magic mirror. He did find it, but of course with it came the shepherd boy, and the shepherd boy at this point had grown very attached to the mirror and he would not give it up. So Cupid, desperate to please the goddess, shot an arrow at the boy, who dropped the mirror and it shattered. And wherever it shattered, wherever the pieces of the glass fell, the bellflower sprouted in its place. The meaning in Korean is actually kind of similar, but there's kind of a more tragic story that is associated with the bellflower versus the Greek gods doing their thing. Gods are wild. Anyway, the Korean story goes like this. It's about a beautiful girl who was an only child, and she lived with her parents. One day, she went up the mountain path and ran into a man who was digging up herbs. He lived humbly, and the girl fell in love with him at first sight, but she had never really spoken to men before, and thus, because of her nerves, she was never able to talk to him, but she made her way back down the mountain thinking of him, and her heart was beating and she was so nervous. Unfortunately, she came down with a chronic illness after that, and for some reason, her parents decided that meant she needed to find a husband. So they sent out for a husband for her, and she could not bring herself to tell her parents about this man, this humble, lovely man that she had met in the mountains, and so she just suffered in silence. Her parents eventually did find a man for her to marry, but at this point her sickness had progressed quite rapidly, and she was basically bedridden, and they were very ashamed because they didn't want that for their daughter, and they didn't want to represent that, especially, you know, because they had arranged this marriage. So they tried to speed the marriage up. However, she ended up actually dying on the day of her wedding. She apologized to her parents for dying before them, and even though she never told them about this man that she loved, she requested that her ashes be spread on the mountain path. Her wish was granted, and where they spread the ash, the bellflower began to sprout. Of course, the girl's name was Doraji, which translates to bellflower basically, so they named the flower after her. It was very tragic, very unfortunate. Also, just a huge props to TXT trans _ on Twitter, who actually translated this whole story for me. I was having troubles like with some of the finer details because it was only written in Korean and I couldn't find an English translation for it. So thank you so much. You're like actually the best human ever and I love you. Okay, anyways. So after reading that story, we definitely can understand the feeling that that flower is supposed to convey, I think. So let's just move on to other flowers. There is a white carnation visible. This flower generally means innocence, again likely because of the color and pure love, and giving one to someone can indicate that you wish them good luck. However, on several Korean websites, the meaning was a lot less vague and very specific. They advised to never ever give a white carnation to someone who is alive because it means, like, when you give it to someone, I still love you, but in reference to the deceased. It's generally more commonly left on graves as remembrance versus to someone who is still alive today. I think that this difference comes from several different factors, but it's possible that it stems from just a different take on religious texts. When Jesus Christ died and Mary was crying for him, it is said that her tears dripped down and grew into white carnations. And this is how the funeral and honor aspect came to be, but I can totally see why people found it to be a thing of beauty and purity instead, especially considering it was the Virgin Mary. The other flowers that we can see here are pink orchids, which once again, they represent love and royalty. We've done this. And we also see a type of lily, which is called the Lily Gloriosa, which can also be called the Glory Lily, which I feel like that's pretty obvious. And obviously, thus, it represents glory and fame and honor. And interestingly enough, also associated with the Virgin Mary. As in, yes, the same Virgin Mary that we had just been talking about, the carnations. Then again, a lot of flowers have symbolism that are based in the Bible and religious texts, so I don't really think that this has any significance. But this does extend to mean that lilies in general mean grace and purity and hope and kindness. So that's a nice thought. In Korean, I also found these biblical references with meanings such as holiness, joy, and victory. It is a pure, joyful sort of love and is often used for proposing and at weddings, apparently. Fairly unanimous on this one. That's a nice change. Anyway, let's move to the next part of the video before I discover something else that makes just no sense. Also, why is he wearing blue? Okay, now we have, like, I still haven't figured out the whole Kai was wearing yellow thing. We got 2 white shirts, we got a yellow shirt, and now we're gonna have 2 blue shirts, and I'm just like, what? What does it mean? Because it doesn't even follow the eclipse, because Kai is supposed to be in the sun. We have pretty much analyzed the heck out of this clearing, staring at the camera clip. So we get to really power through this video today. This clip confuses me. First, it is our second facing sideways clip, which I already mentioned. The flower shot is clearly on the side. We actually know what kind of flower that is though, because we literally just examined it. It is the Lily Gloriosa. So let's take a look at the grub instead, specifically a beetle. In previous videos, I have always been able to connect, even vaguely, the animal to the member's like special pain, as they so enjoy putting it.
As the dream got bigger, pain came along.
This one is a little strange. Obviously, as I mentioned before, grubs are the larvae of beetles. Many varieties of beetles actually grow horns, which, you know, because of Nap of a Star, we know Yeonjun is the boy with horns. Well, this actually makes sense. What? Especially since we see him grow horns, like in the music video. And the grub, well, it hasn't grown them yet. It's also kind of cute because the fact that it's a larva shows that it has the opportunity to grow and become something more. But what about the fact that Yeonjun's special pain is actually supposed to be his neck, his voice, or something to do with the throat? What of that? I have no idea. Honestly, I have no shame in admitting that because I did so much research. I delayed this video because I was doing so much research on flippin' beetles and larvae and grubs, and besides the fact that they like vibrate to communicate, which a lot of bugs do, I pretty much found no information about it. Maybe I'm just like not looking for the right clue, but it's okay. It's possible that the answer will become more obvious as we get more information, because arguably we know the least about Yeonjun's like special skill, special pain. We know the least about Yeonjun's special pain compared to everyone else since it wasn't really displayed. Like a cut on the neck, what? I don't get it. If you have any ideas though, please share them in the comment section below because, yeah. And if it's a really good one, I'll actually try to include it in another video because I feel like more people should know. Anyway, it's good. It's all good. We're fine. We as a community are a huge amount of people from all over the world and we can figure this out. I believe in us. By the way, this is my owl mug. It matches with the owl in the Nap of the Star music video. Oh, another interesting thing though about grubs. They're pretty much never seen above the ground. Like, they live and they grow in the soil. I do wonder if that signifies something, specifically because they obviously chose to use a grub versus something else with horns or something else related to the neck. It's also sitting beneath a glory lily, so will it maybe grow up to become glorious? To see a grub in your dream varies on interpretation, but it generally seems to be that it's a parasite. It indicates the fact that you are hurt by some situation. Just think of Nap of the Star. But it generally means a beginning or the early stage of a process and the period before transition or metamorphosis. Once again, we can pretty much assume that that would be the case for Yeonjun, and both of these meanings tends to fit him. So let's move on. Next is our eclipse scene. And there's actually a few things that I want to talk about in this scene, because it's a little different. First, what you probably expect, Yeonjun is on the darker half of the eclipse, so he's mostly in shadow. It centers a lot on his neck, and onto the purple tulip that he is dragging there, which symbolizes nobility and loyalty. But that's not all. There actually is a really interesting effect here, and it's only on Yeonjun's video and I can't figure out why. They've actually multiplied his image several times. It gives that like infinite mirror images effect. And this seems really intentional, and like I said, it's only on Yeonjun's video. The only other time that we see this effect is in Soobin's intro film, which is not part of the TU. An interesting effect, and I do wonder why they put it there. Does Yeonjun maybe have multiple possible outcomes for his growth? Or does it have something to do with the eclipse? Like, why did they place it on this scene specifically? I don't know. I'm just really excited about it. The next part is Yeonjun's shape on his face, which is a star, and again, it's the dream chapter star, and it's his chapter with the storyline and that of the star. You've heard this before. They also show quick zooms of his neck and a cute little wink, which will steal your hearts. Okay, moving on. Our final zoom out shot shows that same tulip dragging across his neck again, zooming out with the same flowers in the background as before. And in that final shot with the TU logo, we actually see what looks like an anemone in the shot, which is, as a refresher, meant to protect from evil. The Morse code at the end of the video spells out promise. The full sentence with his photo card to tie in is, "This isn't just any promise, it's a promise for all of us. It's a dream we all share together." Yeonjun will be spending some time growing into his dream with the rest of his members. That's what I'm guessing. It's really cute. Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please give this video a like if you liked it, and leave your comments down below. What are your thoughts? Where do you think this is going? Do you think my interpretation is correct? Also, please hit the subscribe button and make sure you turn on notifications so that you know when I post the next video, which will be the last video of the questioning films anyways. Oh my god, you guys, we've almost made it! Stay sunny, everyone. Bye! This flower is... Oop, that's my phone. Sorry. Let's put that on Do Not Disturb. Ooh, that was loud.